welcome on into another episode of, well, the first episode of the week of DCU Daily and Also Curious. We've got a ton of news to talk about. It's a Monday, and Mondays are busy, so today will be the same. And, well, we've got a lot of DC stuff to get into, some stuff that we actually have held over from even Friday, because there was so much to talk about on Friday. A lot more fallout from the Superman trailer. We had to talk about James Gunn potentially secretly working on a World's Finest movie, a Batman and Superman crossover. The last time they did one, it didn't go so well. Can James Gunn get it right? Will he get it right? Is he even working on it? We will answer all of those questions, of course. We have to talk about the early Superman screenings that are going to be happening in more or less a month's time, I suppose. Well, not a month's time, in a month and a half, 2 months' time. Well, it will be still a week or so before the actual movie comes out. Amazon is offering a chance to its Prime members to go see the movie early. We'll talk about that. There's our first look at basically a full figure of Galactus. Like we know now, not just what he looks like from the shoulders up, like we talked about the other day, but the whole thing is how does he compare to the comic book look. We'll get into that, of course. We have a number of other things to talk about from the news, like Voltron dropping on streaming. What else did we have? The weekend box office, Final Destination blowing away all expectations. So we'll get into that and so much more. And to do that, there you go, find the news intro and we'll get the show started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see corns.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, there I am, back again. Well, we've got a lot, like I said before the intro, we've got a lot to talk about today. We'll even get into, talking about how Conan O'Brien has now joined the new Toy Story movie. Of course, he's going to be back to host the Oscars next year, but, he's keeping himself busy to do that. And, of course, talk a whole lot more than that even. With me, I've got John. How are you doing today?
Very tired, but I'm here. So here we are.
How was your weekend?
Went by way too fast.
It tends to be every time, all the time, every time. Well, good thing is next weekend is Memorial Day weekend. We'll still have a show on Monday. John is going to be taking the day off, so that means hopefully you can get a bit more rest. But in the meantime, no rest for the weary, because we got to talk about, of course, James Gunn talking about the current timeline of the DCU. So we'll start there. We'll start with Superman news right off the top, then we'll get into some other stuff. And we have a full DCU daily segment coming up later in the show. But guys, James Gunn has offered us an updated look at what the DCU timeline currently looks like. He's saying it's basically as the movies and shows come out. But before we get into this, I just want to say hello to the chat. We've got Caleb in there. Hello, Caleb. How are you doing? Anybody tuning in? Let us know what you think about today's show topics already. There's a new Predators trailer out, which Caleb, we did not get a chance to look at today. So we will get into that for tomorrow. But thanks for bringing that to our attention. Right now, let's talk about Superman, and let's talk about James Gunn mentioning that the DCU timeline may not be quite what we thought, perhaps, in the past. So John, let's dive into this, shall we? Recently, as he always is being asked on social media, questions like, when are we getting a new Superman trailer? What's going on with the Lantern show? What's going on with Supergirl? Are you going to be at Comic-Con? Well, one of the things that James Gunn was recently asked was, let me go find the question exactly because I have the thread here. On HBO Max, will you create a DCU timeline like how Disney Plus has one for the MCU so you can watch it in chronological order? To which James Gunn simply responded, well, as of now, it's basically as the movies and shows come out. Although, of course, some of these feature flashbacks, like in Creature Commandos, which we know had some flashback sequences, Superman, which apparently will have flashback sequences, as well as Peacemaker, which I'm guessing that's how we get Joel Kinnaman in there, because his character, of course, is no longer with us in the DCU or the DCEU as well. Lanterns, apparently we know it's going to have flashbacks because we have the whole family of our what's his name, John Stewart. John Stewart and his parents. We're gonna get an older and a younger version of that in that show. Supergirl, it looks like also.
Brother never told you never threaten a man's family.
I really thought you had forgotten about it, but then I saw you fiddling around looking for something, so I was like, okay, it's coming. I said it, and I should have expected it, but yeah. Well, you know, Supergirl has a family that dies on Krypton, so I'm sure we'll be getting flashbacks to her time because she wasn't like a toddler when Krypton dies. So there's that too. But John, all of this being said, I guess the question that comes out of this is the timeline of the DCU. As James Gunn is implying, is basically as the projects come out. So that means Creature Commandos first, then you have Superman. Now, he did mention look, here's the thing. The way he states these projects, it's a particular order, but I don't know if it's implying anything. He says Creature Commandos, Superman, Peacemaker, Lantern, Supergirl. So overall, this you could look at it and be like, okay, those are the first 5 projects, but also they seemingly are in the order of release. But if it is in the order of release, that implies that Lanterns will come out before Supergirl does, which initially we thought it was. I mean, they were saying it's going to come out around the same time, and in most cases we assumed it would be after Supergirl. But do you think, based on this statement by James Gunn, are we reading too much into it to say that Lanterns is now set to release before Supergirl next year?
I mean, it's a whole. I mean, the continuity is a fucking bitch, especially when it comes to comics. It's never cut and dry. It really isn't. So I think what they need to do at this point is kind of just take it in stride like the comics. And he's like, it's when the movies come out. I think that's a good way of doing it, instead of like getting so caught in our own stuff of like, oh, it's this, that, and the other thing. It's like, do what essentially the X-Men did, the Fox X-Men, just like when they come out. And then if another movie retcons the other thing, then it's retconned. Then it's like just it's a moving timeline, and you know what? Or like maybe it like diverges a little bit and that kind of thing. But like just take it in stride. If something is retconned, then maybe something is retconned. It's just I don't get too wrapped, because then obviously you're gonna get the super nerds that are like, yeah, but this thing was said by this character and this thing that was said by this character. Screw it. At this point, I just don't care. Like, I just want to watch a good movie. Like, I like cinematic universes. The more they go on, the more they unravel. And it's not like James Bond, where it's like one dude who just has a shit ton of movies. It's, you know, it just goes on. It's just like one timeline. Then there was a reboot. Boom, there we go. Godzilla was kind of similar for a while. I know that the first, I think until Godzilla 1985, that was like one timeline. And then 85 was a requel, was intended to be the sequel to the original film. And then that's how that turned out. And then Godzilla 2000 was the same way, where it was a sequel to the original, and then it continued on from there. So I think at this point, it's just take it in stride. I think this is a perfect way of doing it. It's just, you're going to get people to complain like they always do, but just move on and just kind of do what you want to do without having to worry about it. And that was the great thing about DC versus Marvel, was DC was like, after the failure of Justice League, it was pretty much like, yeah, we're just going to kind of do standalone stories that kind of take place in the same universe, but we're not really going to reference one another. except for like that, and the other thing. Like, oh yeah, of course, the Harley Quinn movie references, Suicide Squad and all that stuff. But like, then at the same time, it's like, oh, Shazam 2 references Shazam, and then those movies reference like a Batman, an Aquaman, and that kind of thing. So just take it in stride. And I think this is what James Gunn should have said from the beginning when the movies and shows come out. And there you go. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's kind of, I don't want to read too much into what James Gunn said, right? Because the one thing that we don't want to have happen here is people just like reading his comments and looking at it and saying, okay, so James Gunn, you said that must mean this, and therefore if you don't do it, and if like we don't get Lanterns before Supergirl, what the heck, man? I think what we're finding out over time, based on all the questions that he answers, and when you look back at the announcement now that they first did, what has been now 2 years since they did that very first announcement announcing 5 shows and 5 movies, of which we are definitely getting 2. One of them might be shelved for now, The Authority. Clayface wasn't even a part of that conversation at the time. But Swamp Thing, we don't know what's going on with that until James Mangold tells us otherwise. And then what was the 5th one? Am I forgetting one? There were 5 movies, right? Am I forgetting? So there were Supergirl, Superman, The Authority, Swamp Thing. Somebody let me know in the chat. But basically, of that, and even the TV show side, Paradise Lost, Booster Gold, Waller, all 3 of those shows, or one of them has suffered setbacks. Paradise Lost, and so we don't know when that's going to come out. Waller has been delayed, and they're changing the story up now because of the other projects that are coming out ahead of it, including Peacemaker. Peacemaker season 3 might come out before Waller does, for all we know. And then of course we talked about Creature Commandos getting a season 2 already, so that wasn't mentioned back then, but we did get a season 1 that was announced. Am I missing something? Booster Gold, he said they're making good progress on. So yeah, all these updates. But it's me in the chat, Steven, just letting you know. Lex Luthor is the main villain with superpowered henchmen and Luthor Corp troopers enterprising. I don't know if you're answering a question there. Oh, Brave and the Bold. Thank you, Caleb and Elite Easy. Caleb was the first one in the chat saying that, and then Elite Easy also. Yeah, Brave and the Bold is another movie that they're still working on, but so if you look at it, 2 out of the 5 movies we have gotten something on. Only 1 of the 5 shows have gotten released. So I feel like when people looked at that announcement, that they went the Marvel way, where that initial announcement was, oh my God, this is the blueprint. And you know what? That might have been the blueprint when they announced it, but clearly, and you tell me, John, if you agree with me on this or not, but unlike Marvel, where they announced a release date and a logo and a cast, most of it, where, outside of a few instances like Blade, they deliver on that. Like it seemed like that's the plan. That's what they go with. Yes, sometimes there's changes. You have issues where you have things like Ironheart, which is getting dumped with 2-3 episode batches in 2 weeks time. So obviously that's, gonna get buried in between a bunch of other high profile projects or like Echo. But most of the time Marvel delivers on what they're pitching and what they tell us at these big Comic-Con or whatever announcements. DC, on the other hand, when you combine that original announcement with the press event earlier this year, and even the press event before that a year ago, the plan is changing and evolving. It seems like, because they're not tying this all together in a way that the MCU tried to do or did do very well up until Endgame, where it was one big story that was interconnected. And James Gunn has said we are more like Star Wars than the MCU, where it's just all these stories exist in the same universe. There'll be crossover, but they could take place in different times and different parts of the universe, whether it's Earth or cosmic or different parts of the planet. It feels like there isn't as much of a connective tissue to it, or at least the connective tissue that is there. It's very flexible. Like they can put the pieces together however they want. It's not like Peacemaker has to come out for Lanterns to come out, right? They obviously rewrote stuff so that Waller can now adjust because Peacemaker's coming out sooner. So there is some connective tissue, but it doesn't feel like it's as dependent. Like, but you tell me, what do you think, James, this is telling us that there isn't as much of a plan behind the scenes as we think there is? Or do you think there is still a method to their madness? Like, I guess that's the question that I'm ultimately going to be asking, or most people are.
I think there is gonna be a proper method, man. Yeah, that was intentional. But I think there is gonna be a method to it all. I think we're gonna be getting a proper maybe like once things are more established, then we're gonna get something that's like more not tight knit, but like that's more like concrete of like what the timeline is, because it's very hard to figure out when you literally only have one movie under your belt or one show under your belt and nothing. So technically the one thing is canon with like a little bit of the Suicide Squad with a little bit of Peacemaker. So it's like just take it in stride and just I think that there's going to be something more concrete later on, but for right now, James Gunn is like, bro, I got like 17 projects. Can y'all like super nerd fanboys like stop hitting me up with this timeline horse shit and just leave me the fuck alone? I think at this point, that's why he like keeps backpedaling, because he doesn't remember the previous responses at this point. Because he's just like, bro, I got a show, I got a movie, I got another thing I'm working on. I got to get Matt Reeves. I got to like chain him up to
He's
a
apparently
radiator in the basement to get him to write the rest of Batman Part 2.
Pages.
It's like
okay.
it's like, damn, all right, bro. Like, just leave me alone. I need sleep.
He's like James McAvoy from Split. Almost literally, because there's like 10 different versions of James Gunn going around doing 500 whatever kind of things, and including, like you said, managing Matt Reeves in his basement and whatever he's up to. We got a lot of you guys in the chat now. 5 Ashes there. Steven, of course. We got drawing. Caleb, he's got his comments up already. Hosea, Elite Easy E, Enterprising. I already said Steven's name. So everybody, yeah, thank you guys for joining in. 5 Ash was saying, I don't know, I stopped watching all that shit a while ago. I think you're referring to the MCU. And Figure Drawing was saying Doctor Strange 2 is the same as the Marvels, like, because I think 5 Ash was making the point that Marvel became pretty stale. I will say this though, I don't think Marvel became stale necessarily. It's just their storytelling has not been as good as it used to be. Like, I go back and watched like some of the movies from phases 3 and 4, and you could generally tell, like, just objectively speaking, on their own, some of those movies were way better than what we have gone in recent times. And I think part of the reason was they tried to connect them way too much. So maybe what James Gunn is trying to do here is for the betterment of the DCU out the gate. Like, the mandate before we got to the DCU, the latter half of the DCEU even, was less connectivity, tell better individual stories. And it seems like that's where James Gunn and Peter Safran are starting out, which isn't surprising because James Gunn did a movie in the DCEU, The Suicide Squad, which is now going to have some connective tissue to the new DCU. And Peter Safran produced those movies, including Aquaman and Shazam. So the people in charge, it doesn't surprise me that the same philosophy is being implemented, that they don't want it to be a situation where if a Superman movie completely fails or a Supergirl movie goes off the rails, like it's going to affect, I don't know, Paradise Lost or whatever. Although Paradise Lost is not a good example because that takes place way in the past, but like there's other projects like Booster Gold and whatever. So, but hey, guys, let us know in the comments down below as John yawns in there, which is completely fair. But let us know in the comments what you think about the connective tissue of the DCU. Has James Gunn basically told us that Lanterns is going to come out before Supergirl? Is he just trying to tell the people to just chill out because it's way too early for them to get an HBO Max official timeline of the DCU? Literally. I don't know where the sound effect is, but John, yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get more clarity on this once more projects start to come out. We haven't even gotten the first official movie in this new universe. So guys, let us know in the comments what you think about what James Gunn said there. And if Lanterns is coming out before Supergirl, does that mean it's coming out like, I don't know, spring of 2026? What do you think about the date? Let us know in the comments down below. We'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, we're going to switch focus to our next story. So John, this is a Monday show, and on Monday shows we always talk about the weekend box office. And well, the big movie at this past weekend's box office.
Well, the weekend's box office for Hurry Up Tomorrow hasn't been good.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about Hurry Up Tomorrow. I actually forgot that movie was coming.
Sorry, but I had to... Easy joke.
Well, this past weekend's big movie was Final Destination: Bloodlines, and the narrative around Pam Abdi and Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca has been for a while that basically they're gonna get fired because they're not doing a good job. And you could tell because they had Mickey 17 that didn't do so well. They had what was it? The Joker for All You Do was a huge flop last year, and so they've spent a lot of money on movies that didn't quite return a profit, including I think they got blamed for the Furiosa movie too, which was started well before they got in. So a few of these projects, I mean, Mickey 17 was really the first one of those that they can take credit for, for good or the bad. But then Sinners came out. I mean, and even before Sinners, Minecraft came out. Minecraft, Sinners, and now Final Destination comes out. And it looks like they have turned things around in a way that I don't think most people expected. I don't think any of us here expected them to, because when you look at this weekend's box office, Sean, it's record shattering according to the Hollywood Reporter. And you know what? That is very much true, because Final Destination Bloodlines has opened up to 51.7 million domestically and close to 105.8 million worldwide. That is a record for the franchise. It completely destroyed Hurry Up Tomorrow, which, like as they say there, it sang out a key in his nationwide debut, and you already told us about it. But are you surprised that Final Destination Bloodlines is doing as well? I mean, it's a horror movie, but a lot of people are talking about it's not even really a horror. It's like a horror comedy. Like in some ways, like you don't come out of it thinking you just saw The Conjuring. It's much more enjoyable. It doesn't feel like it's doing the same things over and over.
It's very
again.
much like a popcorn B movie, horror movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's very much like it's horrific, but like you go to enjoy it type of thing. Perfect for like teenagers and shit like that. So I mean, I would say I am a little shocked, just a hit by a hair, only because the Final Destination franchise has not been like, I guess that's more critical than anything, but like it hasn't been like the most lucrative franchise of all time. I mean, this is the best, like, in terms of critical and in terms of money, because the other movies made money, well, with the exception of for the Final Destination, which was the worst one, and then it like implemented 3D crap, and it was, ugh. But from what I've heard, like both my friends just did a binge of like these movies, and I'm like, yeah, the Final Destination sucks. But it's definitely a little bit surprising, but at the same time, people love horror movies. Like my friend said, who's a bigger horror fan than I am, has said that horror is recession proof, where he's like, no matter what, people will go see a horror movie. Sure, there's some exceptions like Abigail, which didn't make its money back, but like for the most part, like horror movies, people love seeing horror movies. That's like the one thing, because it's just like, it's fun to watch. They're usually, it's teenager heavy. Teenagers usually like to go see them, or at the very least young adults. So it definitely seems that's like kind of the case, as well as the fact it's a bit of a dry weekend. Yeah, you had Thunderbolts, because it's like Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible are going to be coming out next week. Well, this coming week. But at what was last weekend, it was technically next week. But so you had Thunderbolts, but that's like kind of on the downturn. Minecraft movies on the downturn. Sinners is starting to be on the downturn. It's still making a good amount of money, but it's like that's kind of starting to go. So it's like, oh, new horror movie, let's go watch it. So that's what I think, at least. I mean, plus you have like some of the people, a lot of horror fans going for Tony Todd because he's, beloved, and they want to show their respect, and it's his last movie, technically, like the last one, at least the last one he filmed. So yeah, there is all of that.
I was gonna also just add, I mean, you mentioned the numbers, right? Let's quickly they talk about it in this article. So the last Final Destination movie kicked off to $18 million in 2011. So this movie really just, doubled, almost tripled that number, quite frankly. And even going into the weekend, remember the numbers we're looking at, like, okay, it's going to do like 43, 45. Then as the weekend went on Saturday, I was seeing 46, 47. And now that, we are here, the weekend has come to an end on a Monday, $0.7 million. So it's like the estimates couldn't account for it, like, because more and more people went in to see it, and so it outperformed all expectations. It beat the initial expectations heading into the weekend by almost $10 million. And of course, it's not just in the US. You look at that number, 51.7 is less than half of 105.8, but not by much, meaning that this movie is making roughly as much money across the world as it is in North America. That's a very healthy mix for any movie, especially a horror movie like this, where the budget isn't terribly huge. So its break-even point is not going to be like $600 million, $700 million like Thunderbolts, where they spent $180 million making it, another $100 million marketing it. Whereas this movie, I believe the budget was like around 100 million, if definitely less than 100 million. So with that said, this movie might be profitable by the end of the second weekend, especially because, like you said, the ratings for Rotten Tomato with the critics and the audiences are pretty high. So as long as people are going back to see it and it's a fun movie, they can watch it again and again, it would be amazing. People have told me that the first 15 minutes of this movie are like balls to the wall crazy, and then things just keep getting better from there. And of course, Tony Todd, like you mentioned, and everything regarding like his send off, he even improvised some of his lines. We'll talk about that a little bit more later in the show. But yeah, I mean, Brett Basinger is in this. You see her in the photo there. We talked about she was on the press tour talking about maybe returning to the DCU. She was a Star Girl. Maybe she could play a villain this time. But I did want to also point out, because talking about how Warner Brothers is dominating the box office right now, this is the top 10 from the weekend, John. Final Destination at number 1. Thunderbolts finally came out at number 1 after being number 1 for 2 weeks in a row. It came in second as Final Destination debuted at the top. Then you have Sinners. So Sinners is another Warner Brothers movie. Minecraft movie, another Warner Brothers. So 3 out of the top 4. In fact, if you account for The Accountant 2, pardon the pun, 3 out of the top 5 are Warner Brothers movies. And then you got Hurry Up Tomorrow, which terrible number, $3.3 million. That movie is probably dead on arrival. Friendship coming in at number 7. Clown in a Cornfield, which you saw already, is at number 8. Until Dawn at number 9, and a number of other movies sort of round out the rest of that list there. Number 10, The Amateur, coming in. So John, you look at that, 3 out of the top 5 are Warner Brothers pictures, and Minecraft making almost another $6 million. It's made over $400 million domestically. Sinners has made over $240 million domestically. So, and pulled in another 15 million, which is roughly the same as what it did the week before. So overall, when you look at the results, the 3 Warner Brothers pictures, which all of them people thought were risky, Minecraft might have been the safest bet. But now that they're all out there and they're doing well, not just on its opening weekend like Final Destination, but Sinners is now been in theaters for like 5 weeks, and you have Minecraft in theaters for 7 weeks. Do you think Mike, DeLuca and Pam Abdi's jobs are safe at this point? I mean, have they done enough to reverse the course?
I think so for the most part, because Final Destination Bloodlines is technically New Line, but it's under Warner Brothers,
like a sister studio, right?
So so that counts. Also, a little bit of The Accountant 2,
distributed by Warner Brothers. I think it's produced by New Line, so but it counts as a Warner Brothers picture.
And then Accountant 2, the international for that is
Warner Brothers.
Is also Warner Brothers. So that's like 3.5. Let's say 3.5, a little bit. So that's something as well. But it seems like they're okay now, but obviously we'll see. People have been fired for a lot less when it comes to Warner Brothers, because they are the kings of terrible decisions. So there's that as well. But I think I don't know, they're safe for now.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, Enterprising saying what a way to revive IP that was nearly forgotten about, talking about of course Final Destination, and then mentioning that I am so happy about Sinners. I think we all are really happy with Sinners. And you look at how much money has been made. Dude, I mentioned it made around 15 million the previous weekend, and then it did the same this past weekend. It didn't even drop like at all. And not to mention like how it basically didn't do any less for weekend 2 after weekend 1, and debuted higher than anybody expected. So Sinners has been doing terrifically well for a movie of the scale and scope and like the amount of money that's spent on it. That movie is going to be profitable. Minecraft might be the first $1 billion. It will be the first $1 billion movie of the year at this rate. It's getting closer and closer each and every day. it's getting, I think it's around 950 now. So yeah, give it another couple of weeks, it will be there. And Hosea was mentioning Warner Brothers was on life support a few years ago because of AT&T. Now it's thriving, happy days. And you know what? Here's the thing: we give credit to Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, but the man who hired them is David Zaslav. And yes, he has done a lot of things that pissed off a lot of fans, but he also brought in two executives who helped bring MGM out of bankruptcy the last time it went into bankruptcy, and got it to the point where they were able to basically then sell MGM. Not them, the CEOs weren't the owners, but the owners of MGM were able to sell their company to Amazon for billions of dollars, including the James Bond franchise, of course. So Mike DeLuca, Pam Abdi were the ones who helped revive, a very big prestige, his historic name in MGM, and now they're doing something similar at Warner Brothers. So I guess the reports of their demise were greatly exaggerated, as it were. And quite frankly, if it weren't for these three Warner Brothers movies, the box office for this year would have been looking a lot worse, because you look at the three movies combined now, they're contributing roughly 1.3 billion dollars to the early part of this year's box office, where Captain America Brave New World failed to do more than 400 some odd million dollars. Disney Snow White has basically made even a half of that, and Thunderbolts currently, like, it's crossed 300 million. We'll talk about that a bit more later in the week and how it's comparing to other recent Marvel releases, but none of those Disney movies have made that kind of an impact, the kind of impact you would expect them to make. Whereas here comes Warner Brothers, unlikely so, but making a lot more money than anybody expected them to. And I think the credit goes to, of course, the executives who are making the decisions. Obviously, the filmmakers like, Ryan Coogler doing such a good job, the team behind Final Destination. And, like it or not, Minecraft movie was the first cultural event movie of the year. There might be a few more this year, including Mission Impossible and Lilo Stitch next week, but the first one was Minecraft. Now, quickly to round out the rest of this conversation regarding box office, next week, Mission Impossible opens up worldwide, John, but already it's opening up in other parts of the world. And of course, it's already shot up to #1 at the box office in Korea. Are you surprised that Mission Impossible is already #1 in Korea?
No, I mean, foreign audiences love this type of shit. They love Mission Impossible. They love Fast and Furious. They love, they like all the kind of, I don't want to say Mission Impossible is B grade schlock, but it kind of is. It kind of like it. I love it. It's great, but it, like, ever since the second movie, it's just kind of been like action, like kind of just action set pieces. The movie, which I'm cool with. I love it, but it's just that's the kind of thing that a lot of audiences overseas really enjoy. So it's no surprise to me.
Yeah. By the way, I agree with you. Enterprising Minecraft is like that dumb fun like Spy Kids 3. And yeah, Jose, I do hope, we all hope that under this new regime at Warner Brothers Discovery, that DC can also bounce back. So far, Superman looks like that is gonna, be a true state. It's gonna be a true sentiment for the new DC brand. And Thunderbolts is doing well. It could be doing better, but yeah, John, you're completely right. Mission Impossible and these kind of big action adventure franchises do really well in Asia, especially like, when you look at South Korea, and you mentioned like, even Japan and China, like, will probably do really well with this movie as well. I'm not so sure about the release strategy in China, but certainly it's out in Korea. It took 66.63% of the overall weekend revenue. That's huge. They took 2/3 of the amount of money made at the box office went to this movie. That's insane. That's dominance. So hopefully that means we'll get to see something similar for the movie next week when it comes out in the US. So with that, guys, let us know in the comments down below what you thought about the big box office for Final Destination Bloodlines. It made over 50 million domestic, over 100 million worldwide. It's a record for the franchise, and over double, almost triple the amount of money the previous Final Destination movie made on its opening weekend back in 2011. And what do you think about Mission Impossible and how it's gotten off to a great start internationally? It's coming back to the States for a premiere next week. So we'll be talking about that. But in the meantime, let us know in the comments down below what you think about the weekend box office. Did you go see any of those movies? Are you excited to go see them if you haven't? But right now, we're going to switch over, and we have one more big news story before we get into the quick hits, which has to be, of course, Voltron, because you guys know, if you have been browsing on the internet, and if you haven't, well, let me tell you that Voltron is not going to be releasing in theaters. It's going to be releasing, but it's coming out straight to streaming, apparently, which I'm sure is going to be a bummer to a lot of you. I mean, John, I just want to start out by asking you, because we got this report, and I saw this in the Wrap, and then of course other outlets picked it up, like Game Rant here, and they basically talked about, and this was in a report from the Wrap that kind of talked about a bunch of other things, like, you know, the Highlander IP, why Amazon has made a big bet on all these 80s franchises like Highlander, like, you know, Masters of the Universe, like Voltron. And so when they were giving updates for all these franchises, one of the things they talked about was that despite Amazon's commitment to theatrical exhibition, Voltron is going straight to their Prime Video streaming service. Now, this isn't necessarily unprecedented because we saw this happen with Roadhouse, and Ang Lee was so mad about it that he practically had this public feud with Amazon, and as a result of that, he's, I guess, not directing the sequel that Guy Ritchie will be directing. Although I don't know if Roadhouse.
It was Doug Liman, not
Doug
Ang
Liman.
Lee.
I'm sorry, I'm confusing my directors. I think I read an Ang Lee story earlier. So Doug Liman had this whole public feud, and he's not directing the second movie now. Guy Ritchie is. We don't know if the second movie will be theatrical or not. Jake Gyllenhaal did say
it would be funny as hell if they made it theatrical,
Yeah.
and then like Doug Liman is like, what the fuck, man?
But the point is, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal did say that was a misunderstanding. At least according to him, he thought the movie was always going to be streaming. He was never told otherwise. But Doug Liman thought otherwise. But I mean, here, Voltron, Defender of the Universe, John, we're gonna get this movie straight to Amazon Prime. I just want to get your reactions to this, and then we'll dive into a little bit deeper what this means about the movie itself, maybe the why of it all. Was this the plan the whole time? Did they change direction? But it's got Sterling K. Brown. It's got Henry Cavill in there. There's some bankable stars in there. They even have Rita Ora in the movie. So, and it's basically like a Transformers movie in essence, right? So why send it straight to streaming? Why not put it on the biggest screen possible, especially when Amazon has such a big commitment for releasing like 12 movies a year on theaters, in theaters. They talked about it at CinemaCon. They didn't talk about Voltron. Maybe now we know why. I mean, your thoughts, John?
I mean, does anybody fucking even remember Voltron? Like, that's a genuine question. Who knows of or watches Voltron? People know Highlander. It had tons of sequels, which were all terrible. It had the hit TV show, and it's like a huge cult classic. Voltron was like this weird kind of, not underground, but like it was this kind of weird show that was like popular for a hot sec. It used footage from kind of like what Power Rangers did.
Mhm.
It used footage from Japanese shows and then like redid it and made their own like stories, but in English now. So it's kind of this weird franchise where, you know, it's nobody really remembers it. I think it's had like 2 shows, maybe 3. The last one was maybe 20 years ago. So nobody really knows Voltron. Henry Cavill has kind of been box office poison the past couple times. He's starred in a movie. I use the star aspect for Argyle very loosely.
This is the thing, though. I don't feel like any of those were his fault. And let's be honest, Man of Steel was a very profitable movie. When you do the numbers, it wasn't like that movie completely flopped, but I do understand it. You know, it wasn't well received. But I'm saying, I feel like he always puts in his very best performance, and it's just maybe he's not in the best movies. I mean, I don't think Argyle was his fault, for example,
No.
right? But I mean,
I'm just saying, people like
yeah.
they see the guy who played Superman last time, and they're like, his fault. So
I mean, but then people were like,
it's
one
not
of the best parts
true.
of Deadpool and Wolverine was the Calorine, right? So it's I don't know. I'm just saying, like, point counterpoint, I suppose. Man of Steel Magnolias remembers Voltron, whereas Jose is like, it was before my time. And Nico saying there were plenty of Voltron toys when I was a kid. Enterprising saying the same kind of people that liked He-Man and Thundercats will probably go watch Voltron.
Maybe.
Henry Cavill needs a call.
Well, and the fact that, like, I don't know, their IPs are kind of, in terms of 80s stuff, has kind of not been great. So maybe it's also that as well. Whatever it is, I think that makes sense. I don't think I'm like, oh my God, what are the... It's Voltron. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, who really cares? Like, it's
there's
not...
some very passionate people. Hello, Antonio, in the chat. there's some passionate people out there for the franchise. I mean, hey, well, by the way, Henry Cavill getting a call from Matt Reeves, Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve. I'm sure he would. I don't know why he hasn't already, but I don't know. Maybe they don't think he's a good fit for their projects. But I mean, Gundam is bigger than Voltron. Saying Hosea, where's the Gundam movie? Isn't there a Gundam movie? Isn't Netflix or somebody working on one? Am I wrong about that?
No idea.
I thought I had heard that there might be, but I mean, it's a fair point. It's like Voltron isn't necessarily the most popular franchise, but I will say this, John. Look, you're selling this thing theatrically the way this looks. It's basically a Transformers movie, right? Or I mean, it could be like you could sell it as one. It could look like a Transformers movie to the average moviegoer. You would imagine that kind of a movie would do well with fans, especially we just talked about Mission Impossible doing well in Korea and its early release there before it gets to the States. I imagine this movie might do well with audiences internationally. So why throw it on streaming? Do you think this is because the movie, as is, being worked on, it just finished filming, I think, or it's about to be done filming? Do you think this is a reflection of the fact that Amazon is not very confident in this, that they don't think this is a very good movie? Like the why of this is, I guess, the question now. Like, is it because it's not as good as they thought it would be? Or do you think this was the plan all along to put it out on streaming?
I think I don't know. I just think that this is probably the best course of action. It seems to be like, I know it's like, oh, I'm kind of sick of like streaming movies, but I don't know. Like I like I'm trying to imagine it from like a business point of view of that. So it's like I think this will probably benefit them in the long run, and I think they're being more cautious with how badly Red One bombed because they were kind of expecting that to be the next
true.
greatest thing.
Yeah.
And so it turned out not to be. So even though they are more they're going to be more into the idea of like theatrical movies, I think they are still going to be cautious of certain things because it might
I knew
turn
Netflix
out
was
to be like
working on
Red One.
Gundam. Yeah.
Okay.
So Netflix is working on a Gundam movie. No, but you're right. I mean, Red One definitely did underperform. But even then, I'm like, here's the thing. Like, I do wonder, like, if this was a movie that had even, I mean, I don't know. Henry Cavill, I think, is a pretty top tier talent. Maybe he's not an A-lister per se, but maybe if this was like a Michael Bay producing a Transformers movie, they would be like more likely to put it out in a movie theater. Whereas here, they're just like, okay, we'll just put it on streaming. Obviously, they're working on other things with Henry Cavill, Warhammer, Highlander. So I'm guessing those other ones will go on in theaters. But for whatever reason, they've decided that Voltron will be going straight to streaming, which I hope it's a good decision because, look, even for a movie that doesn't make a ton of money, makes more money by going to play in theaters, gets more reviews, gets more attention from people, and does better when it then comes out on streaming afterward because more people are like, oh, I didn't see it in a movie theater. Oh, I did see it. Now I want to buy, like, I bought Top Gun Maverick on Blu-ray. I bought it on digital. I have a steelbook. I watch it on Paramount Plus. I saw it in a movie theater first, but because I loved it so much, I did all of those other things. Voltron won't have that. Like, it will just be straight on streaming. So like whatever money they were gonna make, they won't make from it because they're just dumping it on streaming. And then automatically people are gonna be like, oh, they must have been doing it because it's not as good of a movie. So I mean, that's the part that bothers me. But hopefully this is not a sign that the movie's gonna be terrible. Hopefully this just means that Amazon has already got another 12 or so movies for theatricals, and this is just one they'd like to make streaming exclusive. Because I mean, Roadhouse wasn't the best thing ever, but Roadhouse was good. Like, it was good, like you put it in theater, people would have gone to see it. It wouldn't have made like $1 billion. It wouldn't have made $500 million. It would have made more money than it did by going straight to streaming. So I guess this will have the same fate. But yeah, I mean, Antonio making a good point. Did any of us really have Tom Holland being in the Christopher Nolan movie? So it's always a possibility that Henry Cavill could find his way into one of those directors' next movies, which is very possible. I mean, it's always possible. Although he's really tied up in a bunch of different things right now, and he's like a nerd's nerd. So maybe that's what it is. He likes to do the stuff that he loves. So he doesn't have time for Denis Villeneuve's prestige film, or I don't know, the next thing Christopher Nolan does. It's probably like a Pacific Rim movie, says Nico. It's very true. It could be. If it is though, then I mean, put it on a freaking IMAX screen, because Pacific Rim is the kind of movie you do not want to watch at home for the first time. So if that is the case, Nico, I hope they put it. I hope they change their mind. Maybe they will change their mind. Maybe once this movie is completely done in post production, they're like, "This is great. Put it out in theaters." But I don't know. I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. I do want to connect to this comment before, or answer this question from Hosea before we finish up this segment, John. He was asking, Thunderbolts has made just under what Captain America 4 made worldwide. Is Cap 4 and Thunderbolts considered flops? I've never seen these movies, so I've got no dog in the fight.
Well, didn't we do a story like a couple days ago where it was like Thunderbolts needs to make $1 billion to fucking break even or whatever, or whatever the heck
it wasn't
was.
$1 billion, but like they spent 180 making it, 100 million marketing it, so the break even point is like $500-600 million. So if Thunderbolts doesn't make at least 500 million, it's most likely a flop. But I mean, it doesn't. It's a flop in its theatrical run. It might make more money.
Yeah, we still have Disney Plus, a little bit of DVD sales, licensing,
Blu-ray,
all that
rentals,
stuff.
Stuff like that. Like distribution, post theatrical distribution does make up a good amount of money. Merchandising also plays into it because it's all part of the same business that they registered for the movie, like the old the LLC associated with the movie. But the theatrical, as far as the theatrical run goes, at this point in time, it's not looking like it's going to get to 500 million, considering where it is 2 weeks into its release, or 3 weeks into its release now. It's not even #1 anymore. So, and the path will only get more difficult with Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch next week. So Captain America 4 similarly ended with like around $400 million. I think 450 roughly it was, just under 450. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think Thunderbolts will get as far, because it's got way more competition that Captain America 4 had across his entire theatrical run. It may eke it out. It may cross 400. I don't think it crosses Captain America 4's box office. So would I consider it a flop? I mean, just purely on dollar versus, spent versus made? Yes, flops. Both of them are technically flops. But you don't get to see everything because, Hollywood accounting, there's a lot more money to be made after the movie comes out of theaters. Not as much as maybe it made in the theater, but if it's only off by like $50 to $80 million, they could potentially make that up over time. So, but at least coming out of theaters, I think Captain America 4 was a flop. It wasn't as bad of a flop as the Marvels. It was a flop. And it's looking like so far, as good as it was, it's Thunderbolts, aka the New Avengers, is looking like a flop. So we'll just have to wait and see how much farther it goes in the next few weeks, and with all the competition that's coming its way. But thank you, Jose, for a good question there. And with that, guys, we're gonna switch gears, because now we have to get into the news topics that don't, warrant a ton of our time, but we do like to spend some time on them, and those are the quick hits. So, John, let's hit that quick hits music, and we gotta talk about Conan O'Brien. So let's do it.
Hang on. There it is.
All right. Well, it's time for the quick hits. So let's get things started. The very first quick hit we have to talk about today, John, is Conan O'Brien has joined Toy Story 5. Your thoughts on this?
Not gonna see it. Not even for Conan O'Brien. I thought Toy Story 4 was a stupid idea. This is even dumber. These douches need to say no at this. Tom Hanks, just say no. I don't care how much you love these characters. Just say no. All right, just say no. Not gonna see it. It's dumb. I don't care.
I will say the character sounds interesting. He's gonna be playing Smarty Pants in Toy Story 5. This came out during the consumer products section of Disney's licensing expo presentation. So isn't that crazy? Legendary franchise, said Conan O'Brien on Instagram, saying these films are amazing. I can't believe this. I mean, look, he's got another paid gig. Good for him. He's gonna be back at the Oscars next year. Wasn't he? He was in something else recently too, I feel like. I mean, he might, was he on SNL leading up to the 50th anniversary special?
Maybe.
I think, okay. Well, he's staying busy, joining Toy Story 5. That's fun. Good for him, and hopefully he kills it. There is a rumor out there, John, that maybe we have now the title of Doctor Strange 3. Apparently, and take this with a grain of salt because it comes from Small Screen Co., it's like an insider thing. It's not really, it's like scoop. It's not really confirmed by Marvel or anybody, like from the big trades. But apparently Doctor Strange 3 is going to be called In the Incursions of Insanity, which implies that it comes out somewhere around the multiverse saga, because I mean, the multiverse is supposed to end with...
Can it just be like Doctor Strange 3 Why do we gotta have these overly long titles? I'm done. Like, if your title is longer than like 4 words, then just don't do it. In the incursion of like that's 5 words. That's technically 7 words. All right. If it's longer than 4 or 5 words, just don't. And especially in a way of like, all right, at least in the mouth of, or not in the mouth of, Multiverse of Madness. That's relatively easy to say. It doesn't roll off the tongue, but it's like Multiverse Madness. Okay. You're going to have so many people that if this is true, you're going to have incursion, like you're going to have people who don't know how to pronounce
insanity.
Shit. Like it's a terrible title. And it's not just because it's overly long. It's because you're going to have people that are hard to pronounce things. Maybe they have a lisp. Maybe they know what this is ableist. It's ableist to people with lisps and with speech impediments. So, and I say that as I stutter. So
I mean, Jose is saying the whole Birds of Prey title too, like example of a long
and the
title.
emancipation away. No, stop.
Of one.
Like, I'm so sick.
Yeah.
Like, just if it's longer than like 4 or 5 words, then just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yeah. Not only that, but I mean, Antonio making a good point of like, there's too many storylines mixed in together. I feel like if Doctor Strange didn't have to pay off the Wanda storyline and introduce America Chavez and do a Marvel Zombies thing and jump around and have a whole, what was the Illuminati thing. It's like, there was so much going on in that movie. And, you know, like you mentioned, every time we talk about Multiverse of Madness, it's the whole thing of when it was a Sam Raimi movie, it was good. When it was a Marvel movie, it was bad. And there was a clear tonal change that kept happening throughout the movie. So I don't know. I mean, Oh My Diaz, hello in the chat saying it sounds catchy. The incursions of insanity. I mean, it rhymes, but again,
it's alliterative. I understand that, like Multiverse of Madness, but everyone was calling either people were calling it multiverse. See, I can't pronounce it. Either people were calling it Multiverse of Madness or Doctor Strange 2. Like, it's just incursions of insanity. It doesn't roll off the tongue. It's kind of hard to say. It's just call it like Doctor Strange Insanity, or just Doctor Strange something insanity. Like it's just like, it's too much. It's ridiculous. I can see them doing this, but at the same time, they shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, I'm sure the theater marquees will still just say Doctor Strange 3. Antonio, we will talk about that Daniel Day-Lewis rumor about maybe joining the MCU tomorrow when Liz is on the show. We're saving that one because I'm sure Liz is going to have something to say about that. But yeah, 5 Ash, I'm not going to say that out loud. But moving on to the next thing. Stranger series is in works at Peacock with Leslie Mann and Gabrielle Union eyed to star in a thriller from John Harmon Feldman and 100% Productions. Now, the description for this is pretty generic, but is described as strangers on a train with 2 female leads in it when a long neglected housewife befriends a mysterious woman who is her polar opposite. The 2 women find that they have far more in common than they thought. As their friendship unfolds, we soon learn that they both harbor secrets that could quickly unravel their quiet suburban lives. John, is this something that would interest you, Strangers on Peacock?
No, and plus, David Fincher is already remaking Strangers on a Train, which I already don't like, but it's David Fincher, so I'm gonna see that way before this crap. So yeah, I'll go watch that. I'm not watching that shit.
Fair enough. I agree with you there. I mean, look, Peacock needs more good shows. This doesn't sound like the best idea, but a good thriller I'm in for. We'll just have to wait and see. Speaking of thriller, what a thriller of a news that we got today. SWAT lives on after getting canceled 3 times before at CBS, and yet again, but this, yes, there you go. Freeloggers. Shamar Moore is returning in the spinoff SWAT Exiles because they got exiled from CBS. Get it? Because now, anyway. So Sony has ordered it to series with the showrunner Jason Ning. Now, the interesting thing here, John, that really is curious about this whole situation. So remember I mentioned that CBS canceled the show. It's multiple times it's canceled the show in the past. This time it was for good. Like after 8 seasons, they're like 163
Wicked for
episodes.
good?
We're done. So like CBS has canceled it. Now the entire library of SWAT shows, and especially this one, is on Netflix. So you can go see it on Netflix. CBS obviously is no longer going to be airing it. Sony Pictures Television always produced the show. Now, when they have renewed this show, as to talk about in this article, this 10-episode sequel series, which is going to star, of course, Shamar Moore and a couple of the other people from the original show, it's not currently been bought by anybody. Like, Sony just said, we're going to greenlight this, we're going to make it, and then we're going to bet on ourselves to sell it to somebody. Now, of course, like I mentioned, CBS may want to bring it back, considering they had all the other seasons, because this is technically a spin-off. So it won't really be bringing it back, more so just greenlighting another show. Or maybe Netflix wants it because Netflix has the other episodes. It's only a 10-episode commitment. What do you think, John? I mean, SWAT, it just doesn't die, but do you think Sony will find a home for it? They don't have their own streaming service. So
honestly, I don't really care. I never watched the show. The only reason I like Shamar Moore is because he was in Criminal Minds, which was great, and then he was also in the Sonic movies, which was fun, but I couldn't care less about SWAT.
You know what I just realized? Antonio's like, your CBS is pissing me off. They canceled this show and I watched this show and I watched the other 2 FBI shows. Look, I know I'm wearing the CBS Sports thing, which I just realized I am, but I don't work for them anymore, and I didn't work for that side of CBS. So I hear you, but it's not my fault, and I don't take responsibility. I mean, The Rookie is still going on ABC. Yes, Steven, we did get your story. We will get into that in a little bit. Nick Cage out here buying castles. What are we talking about? Anyway, SWAT lives. Where it's gonna live, we don't know. But SWAT exiles. Sony said we're bringing it back. Shamar Moore is not done swatting yet. So, okay.
Whoa.
Now,
let's not get into that.
Netflix picks up Sesame Street worldwide streaming rights after Max deal ends. So now the show will continue to be available in the US and PBS platforms. So you can see it on Netflix. Now, people were kind of pissed off a little bit about this because they were like, oh no, they're putting it behind a paywall like they did before with HBO. Well, guess what, guys? This is still going to be available on PBS for at least PBS Kids in the US. So you can
for as long as that survives.
As long, well, yes, I know, but like I think we are hoping that it does. Fingers crossed. But John, overall, I wanted to get your opinion on this. PBS Kids will still have it available for free. It's gonna be on Netflix. So we know that Sesame Street was kind of in limbo for a while, but at least Netflix went in and picked it up. It's an easy win for them because it's more content. It's a recognizable IP thing, and HBO Max doesn't want to pay for it. So I guess Netflix stepped in for what is probably not a lot of money. What are your thoughts on this? The future of Sesame Street?
I think it's nice. I mean, like, I'm pretty sure like every kid for the past 50-something years grew up on Sesame Street. Like, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who wasn't. And I'm sure some asshole in the comments is gonna be like, I didn't watch Sesame Street. Yeah, well, guess what? You don't exist. So shut the hell up. But it's like every kid watched the show. I watched the show. Elmo was my boy, and I loved it. And I have a lot of fond memories from watching the show, mainly calling 911 on accident. I was like 5, so don't blame me on that. But it was, you know, it's this thing that's like, it just can't die with how like integral it's become, how like part of the pop culture zeitgeist it is for children everywhere. It can't die, and we knew that it was going to pop up again somewhere, but and I think Netflix kind of understands that. Hopefully they don't treat it like every other one of their shows and like cancel it after like 1 or 2 seasons, but one can only hope that they actually treat this with respect like it deserves, and we can move on from there.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's also like Elite EZ was saying earlier, they did used to put the episodes out on PBS Kids even when Warner Brothers had it with HBO Max. It's just that they first put it on HBO Max and then it came out on PBS, so you have to wait a little bit for the latest episodes. But yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. Sesame Street has a great educational function, and it exists for a lot more than just entertainment purposes. So I'm glad that it's not going anywhere. And then having that Netflix rights deal means that the 200+ million subscribers to Netflix will have access to watching it. And a lot of them, you know, those households either have kids or they just grew up watching it as kids, so they still enjoy watching it. So I am glad that this is going to continue onwards. Moving on to the next thing, though. Let's talk about the new Galactus promo art for Marvel's The Fantastic Four First Steps, John, because we've got to look at the full figure, the full body of Galactus. Of course, over the weekend, they first put out this, which is basically from the shoulders up. And you're getting, it's a much more muted color palette, so a lot less purple than maybe what we expected, considering the drone show that they did last year at the Comic-Con. But then, John, we got a full figure look at the character as well from Cosmic Marvel here. This is part of, so they're promoting it with a lot of other, merchandise deals, I should say, toys, and I think there was like a KitchenAid thing or whatever. Like, so there are other brand, connections and activations and integrations, as they call them in the ad and marketing world. And as part of that, we now have the design. So here we go. Full figure of Galactus. We know that they put an actual actor inside. So this is
Ralph Ineson.
Ralph Ineson. This is like an actual person that they did this with. So it's as practical as they can get. What are your thoughts on the design? A lot of people saying it's not nearly colorful enough, but it's also, Marvel has always tried to kind of ground their characters in the real world, as it were.
Yeah,
what do
with
you think about
Fantastic Four that's in bright blue like sweaters, but like whatever. I guess that's like, there's like kind of like a separation there in regards to like, oh, you have the bright and colorful Fantastic Four, and then the darker version of Galactus. And it's a cool design. I do wish it was more purpley and blue and all the actual colors, but it looks great, and it looks like Ralph Ineson was actually in there, because he has a very recognizable jawline and face, so you could tell that's him. So what? But yeah, I think
Who was the you mean the Cloud?
The
That's
Cloud.
what you mean, the Cloud.
we don't talk about that.
We get it, Frankie.
But but yeah, I think this looks good for the most part. A little bit, it should be a little bit more colorful, but outside of that, it looks good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, purple, dark purple, says Elite Easy, maybe. Comic book accurate Galactus for the win. Enterprising, this is comic book accurate. You know what? And honestly, this design is a lot more comic book accurate than what we've gotten before, like the fart from before you guys were saying. I, for one, like the designs. I mean, the costume design, like what's motivating all the different details, we don't quite understand. But I guess he's an alien, so whatever, society he's a part, like whatever the reason for that crown or headgear and everything else, we'll figure out. And you know what? They don't have to explain it all. It's a movie, whatever. But I personally think this is great. It's not all that unexpected, considering when you look at some of the imagery we have gotten in the trailer already, or the trailers they've put out. You've seen a bit of the headgear before from behind. We have seen a little bit of him like looking into the Fantastic Four tower. We have seen him walking through the city. And I really appreciate that this is kind of like taking that old school, like Godzilla approach, where I'm sure this is going to look a lot better than, but they used to film those Power Rangers Megazords and Godzilla fighting clearly like, in miniatures or people in costumes. This is going to look a lot better than that, like probably augmented by CGI, but I appreciate that they went as physical and as practical as they could with it. So hopefully this means good things for the movie itself, because we also have some character descriptions, John. So really quickly, in addition to the Snapple promo where they, showed us our first look at Galactus, they did give us some descriptions of the characters. What's interesting about these descriptions, and also some artwork with Mr. Fantastic, is really they excluded some details and included some other ones. I mean, some of this is really obvious. Sue, possesses the superhuman ability to turn invisible, sneak up on her enemies completely unnoticed. She can create force fields. We know that with her mind. And when she isn't fighting alongside the Fantastic Four, she's saving the planet in other ways. As a founder of the Future Foundation, she works with charities and world leaders to uplift humanity and spread equality. With Reed, they do talk about he's got the incredible knowledge to create new technology and study outer space. But he also possesses the superhuman ability to bend, stretch, and extend his body parts across far distances, which we're hopefully going to get to see more of. Johnny Storm can burst into flames, fly thousands of feet into the sky. We see him going up to the space to chase after the Silver Surfer in the new trailer. And he's the most popular member of the Fantastic Four, John, so that's continuing to be the true. He spends his weekends chasing thrills, but when the Fantastic Four are in the heat of the battle, they can always count on him to keep cool. Can they? Can they count on him to keep cool? What are your thoughts on these character descriptions? Even the thing, he can punch walls, lift cars, and defeat villains using his impressive super strength.
Sounds pretty cool to me. Way to go. Bare minimum.
They call him a grump, but with a soft side, Ben Grimm. So, yeah, interesting stuff indeed. Well, hopefully this is good stuff. This is good for the for the MCU in general. But the next thing I wanted to talk about is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. star Chloe Bennett, who, if you remember, she ended up being Quake, one of the Inhumans in the show in the latter half of the seasons that they had. I think they ran for like 10 years. I love the show personally. It had its ups and downs, but I still, in a world where if it didn't exist, I thought I'm better off having seen the show than having not seen the show. Now, they did recently mention that she might be coming back to the, I think it was Jeff Snyder. Oh no, My Time to Shine. My Time to Shine saying that Chloe Bennett might be coming back as her character Quake in the new Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars movies. Do you think they will do that? Because for the most part, it's believed that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. exists in a different timeline than the actual MCU timeline, so this could be like a multiversal cameo. Would you be excited to see her back as a Skye in the new
Never watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think she's coming back. Seems kind of ridiculous to me.
All right, well, cool. I mean, she did say that, hey, look, she was a lot younger back then. She was like 20 to 27 over the course of the show's runtime. So she's hoping that, if she comes back now as being older and wiser, she can play a different side of the Quake character, which I guess would be interesting. I mean, she was a significant part of that show. I personally really enjoyed her character, and again, all the storylines around it with Phil Coulson. He ended up being like a fatherly figure to her. It was a fun show. Let's move on to the next thing, shall we? So, John, the Cannes Film Festival is coming to an end, just about, but Denzel Washington showed up this weekend for the first time in his 50-year career for Highest to Lowest with Spike Lee, and he was given a surprise honorary Palme d'Or at the festival. John, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this was worth it? They got him.
Way to go, Denzel. We're happy for you. You deserve all the awards because you're Denzel. So hell yeah.
I'm like, they were probably like, look, we're probably never gonna get him at this festival again. This is like a once in a 50-year thing, and I don't think he's gonna be around for the next 50. So get him while you can. So cool, good to go. John, you want to take over for this one? Let's talk about the Harry Potter set photo reveal, because we have some photos from the new Leavesden sound stages that they're building for the new series.
Yeah, so apparently we're getting a little bit of that good old HP. Not the computer brand, but Harry Potter. So we got a little bit of a look at Privet Drive, good old 4 Privet Drive. And it seems as though it's starting to really happen, because it's already had a little bit of controversy, like not just the J.K. Rowling stuff, but the fact that it's happening at all, and then characters that are coming back, and the characters that they cast is what I meant. And it's definitely interesting. But the set construction already underway. I mean, it feels like we've been getting a set video every other week at this point, but yeah, it's definitely seems to be pretty exciting. To the people that are watching it, I'm still kind of on the fence. Like, on the one hand, I don't think it should be happening so soon. I mean, yes, the last time we got the last movie was 14 years ago in terms of strictly Harry Potter or Fantastic, I don't count Fantastic Beasts. But with that, it still might be, I think they should have waited longer and all that. But even then, it's interesting to see how they're already starting.
You know what's interesting? If you look at this article here, they mention that this is one of the insiders in a tabloid, The Sun, in the UK, saying they're making a huge commitment here, John, because not only are they like building up new sound stages, and they're gonna have like these standing sets that they will use for I don't know how many seasons, maybe 10 seasons worth of a show, but they're actually building up an entire school for all the young actors in the show who can actually then just go to school at Warner Brothers Leavesden, so they don't have to go to school like, you know, at an actual regular public school. So they're making all these facilities, including standing sets, and the photos that they mentioned here. Let me go down a little bit. Look at this, dude. They're building Privet Drive, you know, where the Dudleys live. And
no, you were right the first time. It was Dursley's.
Dursley's, yeah, okay. So
Dudley Dursley is the child.
It's the one anyway. So the Dursleys, and this is bigger than what we got in the movies too, John. And this is huge. Like they're building like actual houses. Like these are like full ass houses. It's crazy. You look at all this stuff. It's amazing to consider that the scale of this is insane. I mean, honestly, I hope that the show pays off, like, and it does well enough.
It would be hilarious if they canceled it after like 2 seasons.
I mean, with the amount of talent they've got in this, behind the scenes and in front of the camera, I mean, holy crap! Like, this is a lot. I was impressed. I mean, these are some of the biggest sets. I mean, yeah, they're building some pretty big sets for the Avengers movies and for even the Batman. They did a lot of things practically, but this is crazy. But it makes sense considering they might need this for like a good 10 seasons. It makes sense. I mean, they're building some kind of tower here, which is interesting. I was just impressed by the scale of it all. Like, you look at that and it's crazy. Like, they're not gonna do. I mean, they're gonna have set extensions, CGI set extensions, but they're literally building entire houses. So that's awesome. Hopefully the show will warrant it. King of the Hill reboot. Steven, we finally are talking about the thing that you wanted us to talk about. So King of the Hill is getting a new reboot, and they gave us a new image, a first look at Hank and his friends in modern times at an iconic location. And here it is, John. Are you a fan of this franchise?
It's a show I've wanted to get into for a while. Like it's just one of those things where it's just like, I really want to watch the show, but I can't like just sit down and like just watch it. It's a, you know, it's got like a lot of seasons. It's, you know, it is but in terms of this show, it is like a cartoon reboot. Those can be really hit or miss. Like, you have the stuff that's like really bad, like Futurama, but then you have the stuff that's pretty good, like Beavis and Butthead, which is another Mike Judge show. So it's totally up in the air on whether or not this will actually be good. So we'll see, but I don't have high hopes for it, and it feels like the stuff that they've done so far is maybe not the best, but we'll see. I'm not gonna be watching it because then, similar to X-Men 97, it's just like I haven't watched the original show, so I can't exactly continue on with the continuation. Well, you know, it doesn't.
I mean,
hang it, Bobby.
Like, it seems like, you know, with them in Texas, and you've got like drones delivering things from Alabama. Like, maybe they're giving us a show that could be an entry point for people who are novices to the franchise.
That's entirely possible, but it seems like, oh, look, we have VR. Look what we have in the show. Look at it's just
it's a different time, you know, a different King of the Hill for the times we live in today. But Elite Easy and yourself are not impressed, so we'll just keep the ball rolling here. One other thing I wanted to mention, of course, the Cannes Film Festival. I mean, a lot of movies came in, not as many found buyers as they would have liked, but one of the ones that did was Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson's Die My Love, which got sold for $24 million to Mubi. And a movie, weren't they behind one of the bigger, The Substance was a movie
yep.
film, right?
It was a movie.
It was a movie, and so they've gotten themselves some notoriety in recent times. Do you think this means we're gonna see Die My Love become one of those Oscar darlings next year? And I mean, it's movie, like movies, they're getting up in the world. Robert Pattinson and Jennifer Lawrence. This movie had quite the presence at the Cannes Festival. Does this make you more excited for it now that we know Mubi has bought it?
I don't know. Just because a company's behind it doesn't automatically make it good. But I do like good old R. Pats. Don't remember the last time Jennifer Lawrence has been in a movie, so that's interesting. Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, well, it looks interesting. They're gonna have the deal to distribute it in North America, the UK, Ireland, Italy, and many other territories. So that $24 million is not just for North America. And yeah, Jennifer Lawrence making a bit of a comeback there. I mean, she's been doing stuff, but it's not just as high profile, which this could be an Oscar darling. And if it is, then this would be big for her career, as well as Robert Pattinson, who knows a thing or two about Oscar nominations himself.
And they've seen a thing or two. They are farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
Well, with that, John, we can hit an end to the Quick Hits music, because that brings us to a close for the whole news and Quick Hits part of the show. And so let us know in the comments down below which of the Quick Hits were your
Thanks
favorite,
for
guys.
watching, people. Thank you for watching the news portion of this show. We love and appreciate you. But it's not over yet. But make sure to still like and comment and subscribe and click the notification bell. All the things.
All the things. And with that, we're going to move on to the DC part of the show, the main event that you guys are here for, as always. So welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily. As always, we've got a bunch of DC stuff. Superman, plenty of Superman. And we do have to talk about maybe World's Finest, a little bit of Batman, mix it in there a little bit. You know, is James Gunn working on that? Is he secretly been writing a script for that movie that we all thought would be coming eventually, but is it coming sooner than we expect? Superman also, is it coming sooner than we expect? Depending on if you qualify, of course, for one of the early screenings. We're going to get into that as well. So, John, which of the stories that we're going to be covering today are you most excited about?
Oh, I think I'm really curious about, the early screening part, because we've heard a lot about early screenings. Our boy, Jeff Snyder, saying that there's been a lot of test screenings. So going from test screenings to early screening, we'll see. So I'm curious about that.
Nice. Well, we do have to get into a little bit of what I'm gonna call like the DC quick hits, because there's some new Superman promotional art and logos and stuff that we are going to be looking into before we get into the big news. So let's get those things started first. So since the new trailer came out, they've been putting out a bunch of new promotional art, including new posters. So here's a very logo friendly poster, I guess you could say. This is a bit of a combination of the very first poster with Superman, except now you have the logo in the middle. The tagline is "Your choices, your actions. That's what makes you who you are." What essentially Pa Kent tells him in the trailer. So
this is essentially the logo at the end of the logo at the end of the trailer, and I really like that. I like the simplicity of it. I mean, I've liked all the posters. Unfortunately, I don't have my Superman poster shirt right now, but I like that. I like the blurring and the blending of colors. I liked that one. I like the one where he's like got his arms folded and he kind of looks like, he's kind of looking off into space. And then I like this one. Again, it's simplicity, but it's got like some J.J. Abrams lens flares a little bit. So,
yeah, no, I
like it.
Same. Figure drawing saying Dan Morrow is a super beast, writing the Batman Superman World's Finest comic runs. Yeah, and then Elite Easy saying this is giving us those Star Trek 60s vibes. It definitely is Star Trek the motion picture, right? We talked about that before when we saw the first Superman trailer. Steven is happy that we talked about King of the Hill. You are welcome, Steven. You've been asking for that for a while. Hosea says, hits the buzzer. What is Superman, Dan, for 500? We're always talking about a lot of Superman. Are these test screenings in the room with us? Yes. Well, no, we're going to talk about early screenings, not test screenings.
Yeah, not test screenings, like it's like screenings that, it worked. It kind of worked. Shut up.
Works.
Anyway.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Lady Z, for asking the question. And Hosea, you know what? Your question is a good one, but let me kind of give away something that I wasn't going to mention until later. So I'm going to bring in Hosea's comment real quick before we keep going here. Which trailer did you like better, Hosea is asking, the most recent or the teaser? It feels like the conversation has turned more positive. I could be wrong. Well, Hosea, as it turns out, for next week's, what do we call it? We call it a Tier List Tuesday. For next week's Tier List Tuesday, because tomorrow we're doing the GOAT directors, and John and Liz will do that with you guys. But next week, we're going to be doing a tier list of all the big Superman marketing so far. We're going to basically have categories like the teaser trailer, the behind the scenes featurette, the crypto scene that they released with Crypto Take Me Home scene. And then we're going to, of course, also have the new trailer, the first official trailer of Superman.
Dairy Queen Superman Blizzard's going to be S tier. Spoiler alert.
So there's so many. So we're going to put, I'm sure we're not going to include everything in there. We're probably just going to have some categories like action figures could be its own thing because there's so many of them. But yeah, we're going to do a tier list, Hosea. So don't you worry. Then we can really dig into which is better and which is not so much. And you guys can give us your opinions. But thanks for asking that question. Good one. Glimmercast is joining in. Hello, Glimmercast. How are you doing? Happy Monday. And asking y'all to smash the like button. Yes, right. If you guys are watching, please do that. Ray J saying the Super Bowl ad could be, well, that's probably not even good enough to make the tier list because it doesn't exist. They didn't do a Superman ad for the Super Bowl, but good call there, Ray J. And hello to you in the live chat. It's not going anywhere, Ray J. The Super Bowl ad is not even on the list because it doesn't exist. The Puppy Bowl, I'm sure, is what you're referring to, which I don't know. Let's not talk about that. We're trying to stay positive. Speaking of which, John, this is one of the other posters, a slightly more classic look with the icy Superman logo with the same tagline. What do you think about this one versus the other one, the more colorful option?
Ooh, that's tough because that brings up like Superman the movie vibes. And I also have that shirt. It's in my drawer right now, but I can't go up and get it because then my microphone comes with me and then stuff falls over. So I do really like this one as well. Honestly, it's because it's honestly a little bit simpler. I might like this one a little bit more. Like, not saying the other one's bad or anything. It's just like, there's like a lot to it. Not like both are great, but I kind of like how it's just the logo on the black and that's it. I also like him flying and but is it Elite Easy E? That's the thing. It might be Elite, but is it Elite Easy E anyway? But I think I like this one a little bit more. A little bit more.
I really like the look of it. Enterprising also saying it's beautiful. Elite Easy saying all I see is Brando half-assing is surrounded by crystals in this logo. And Ray J saying it's so Donner. Yes, it is very Richard Donner. It definitely has that classic look to it that we got from the original Superman movie. But hey, there's another one. So another variation. This one has the look up tagline. Your thoughts on this one? Superman in a slightly different pose as well, flying away from the logo, going towards the sky. So I guess you do have to look up.
I like that, but I like the other one more. I think him coming out of it just looks a little bit awkward. Like I understand it's like look up, you gotta look up, but
yeah,
it's a little awkward looking. I like the uniformity of the other ones, like how he's on the logo. Here he's coming out of it and looks a little awkward.
I hear you. A little bit like Superman Lives teaser poster says Enterprising. Okay. Fun comments. Every time I see the new S Shield, I like it more and more, says Jose. It's starting to really blend in. I mean, you know what? Honestly, I don't see it and ask myself the question if this is a Superman logo anymore. Because it's still very essentially Superman. Like it there's enough of the original crest in there, like the original, and what is original anyway? The design has varied so much over time. But yeah, I mean, and then they've got this one here, John, with Lois and
I really like this one. It reminds me of that famous Superman Rebirth scene where they're kissing in the air and
we have that in the movie, of course. So
yeah, so I really like this. This is and then they're in the clouds. It's on white. It's great. I love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, we've seen this version of the logo with a different pose of Superman before, so they're just kind of building on that. So and Enterprising thing, that's an amazing poster. And then Ray J saying these are dope AF. So yeah, I mean Glimmercast also in the same boat there. Let's see, is that it? Yeah. So these are all the posters. They all look pretty amazing. We'll have to just maybe do a tier list of those one time. But speaking of Superman posters, of course we just talked about this one. There's a couple of other pieces of artwork that they put out as well. One with Crypto and Superman saying "Crypto home," which is the line in the movie, except he's not lying there bloody on the snow. But I mean, hey, this is also pretty clever. You'll believe a man can fly,
which
very
is
much in line with the
original tagline, which is such a great tag. Like I would say "You'll believe a man can fly" is definitely like top 5 movie taglines ever. The other two, of course, being the horror fan. The other two of my favorites is "In space, no one can hear you scream." Classic. And then my other favorite is from my favorite movie of all time, where "Man is the warmest place to hide." It's just so good and creepy. But "You'll believe a man can fly," I would say that might be number 3. That might be number 3 because it's just like the fucking level of confidence they had to have with that, and then it's just like, but it also fills you with like hope, and that obviously that's what Superman does. So it's just like I love the confidence of it, and but it also is perfectly like Superman, like describing that character.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that a lot. And just God, they like, especially with the production problems that both of those movies had, the first two, the fucking level of confidence that it's like y'all are gonna fucking believe this. You are going to believe that this dude can actually fly. So you know what? We're gonna give it to you. And I appreciate that, and I love it, and it's a great tagline. I was originally like iffy on Look Up, but it was, I think, like it's just it's simple, it's to the point, and I like it. Obviously, nothing can come close to the Superman the movie tagline, in my opinion. But like, Look Up is also great. But
Yeah.
this whole vibe is awesome. It's lovely to
Yeah.
see, and
I,
Crypto looking awesome as usual. And
I,
this might confirm that Crypto might be able to fly, because there. I remember us. This was months ago at this point. I remember there was like rumors that Crypto couldn't fly. He could only
mhm.
like have super speed, and he had like super strength, but that was it. Like, I know he kind of has that like thing in the trailer where he's like kind of flying, but I think he's just like jumping
He
like
is,
when he
yeah,
hits
at
the
least.
engineer in the face.
Hmm.
So I think maybe it's
He's
just
taking
fan
a
art,
big
maybe I'm
leap.
just grasping at straws, but this might confirm that Crypto can fly. Maybe.
I have a feeling that the way they introduced that power in the movie is going to be like it's a surprise to the people in the scene, and it is a surprise to the people watching too. But that's going to be like revealed in the movie. Like it won't be an established fact, but it will be like a surprise to the characters and the people watching. I will say though, this is Frankie G was asking to address your question. These are official. These are, you look at the logos and all the fine print at the bottom. So for a movie of this size, they will do an insane amount of promotional material. It's not like everything is going to be for everybody everywhere. Some of these will end up being used only in certain parts of the world, only in certain
Hmm.
demographics, like where they're only marketing to. Like this could be something that they're using as part of an exclusive to, I don't know, an Empire magazine or something, or it might only be available in certain places or certain media outlets and stuff. So people now with the internet can spread them around. Like back in the day, they were still doing this for big movies like Superman, but it wouldn't be as easy for us to be able to like talk about it. But now people are out there, they're collecting them and they're putting them out for us to see, including Superman City of Tomorrow, John. So again, the Man of Tomorrow kind of aesthetic, and with the new Superman logo for the movie and the suit. This one just has Superman in the Metropolis skyline, including prominently featuring the Daily Planet. What do you think about this one?
I think this is awesome. Um, I like the whole City of Tomorrow thing. I like the skyline. I like the world in the background. It looks great.
Yeah. I
And on
mean,
hips.
it looks amazing, as good as the other ones, and very, again, throwback in a lot of ways, and classic Superman. The artists aren't highlighted, Ray J, but I have a feeling that's because these are like work for hire things. It's not like they might be working with illustrators from the actual DC Comics, but I'm sure we'll find out and when we do in the not too distant future, we'll talk about who worked on what. But yeah, I mean, it's great official artwork. Jose is saying Warner Brothers seems very confident in this movie. I know Geeks and Gamers, and then they say the marketing is bad and they're trying to hide the movie. I believe the opposite is true. That's very much the case, I think. So let's keep going here. We have a few more things before we dive into the bigger news. But John, baby Joey, we get a closer look at him. I don't know. Is that Martian Manhunter? Is that baby Martian Manhunter? What is going on with baby Joey? Who the hell is baby
So
Joey?
somebody gives us a little bit of a insight on the side there. In the DC
Mhm.
universe, Baby Joey likely refers to Joey Mason, the son of Rex Mason, also known as Metamorpho, and Sapphire Stag. Joey is a mutant who inherited his father's ability to affect nuclear properties, specifically by adding or subtracting protons from nuclei. So, maybe there's the idea that he becomes like a mage. Maybe Lex Luthor is like trying to go after him, like maybe using him as like as like a nuclear like weapon or something, and
Oh,
like
okay.
Rex and Sapphire are trying to hide him. And maybe the reason they're in the metahuman prison, there has been theories that if you see during the trailer when Superman gets hit with the baton and
Mhm.
Metamorpho is sitting there with the synthetic kryptonite, there's a woman next to them. Some have reported, some have rumored, sorry, not reported. This is a total theory that that's actually Sapphire Stagg, who is the wife, fiance, girlfriend, depending, of Rex Mason. He maybe Lex Luthor sees them as a threat. Maybe he wants Joey for himself to like use him as a nuclear
Maybe it could also be blackmail. Like you could use
yeah,
that to
blackmail, something like
like
that.
get
Maybe he's
Metamorpho
using
to
him
do
for a
whatever you
weapon or
want.
something. That's
Yeah.
definitely interesting.
Damn. All right. Well, talk about characters and Nico saying, yeah, I mean, Superman is about world building. So yeah, this is exactly that. It's just more and more characters. This is gonna feel like a very lived-in world when the movie comes out, and this is just part of that. Now, I don't know the exact count as of right now, but as of going into the weekend, 4 days after the trailer came out, it was sitting at 27 million views already, and it was still trending, not in the top 10 quite, but number 12. John, this trailer I also noticed, at least again, the main trailer on the DC main channel, when you compare that to the main Fantastic Four trailer on the main Marvel channel on YouTube, has got like more than twice as many views. So clearly a lot more people were interested in watching this, and a lot less time too, because that Fantastic Four trailer has been around for a lot longer. What are your thoughts on how well this trailer is performing overall?
I'm loving it. It seems like I forgot who said it. Um one of you guys just said it where it was um it seems to be more positive. Um I'm seeing more positivity the more this comes out. I think people are, now that they're really going in on the whole summer of Superman thing, people are really seeing that it's like, because it's like now that it's closer to the release date, they're using I know like people were unhappy with like, oh, the marketing. We were. I mean, I still was. I think they should have tried a little bit harder, but now they are going so in and so hard into the marketing that it's like like we're gonna have Superman overload before the movie comes out, and that's the whole idea. That's like how I mean, they're kind of doing it like what they did with Barbie, where you saw Pink for like half a year
Yep.
before that movie came out, or we saw Pink and Green when Wicked came out, like for a whole year, as Liz gave us that rant that is not on the website because you
We
never
will figure it
re-uploaded
out.
the episode.
We
Um,
will.
but yeah, I think the marketing
Uh,
now is just really um I think is really ramping up, and I'm just loving to see it. And I think more and more people are becoming more positive. They're like, "Oh, I was unsure first, but now seeing more of it, I'm kind of stoked for it." Sure, you're gonna always have the naysayers. Oh, he's wearing a diaper. Oh, Snyder is the golden god. Blah 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 blah. All this other stuff. But for the most part, I feel like there
well, I
is
think
more
that's a vocal
positivity.
minority. Like, there's way
Yeah.
fewer people like from the cult of, again, Snyder cultists are different from fans of Snyder's work, and there's far fewer of the cultists than there are actually fans. And even then, that's a small number compared to the overall fan base for DC. So, yeah, the Glimmer cast saying a super fantastic summer. Yes, super fantastic summer indeed. You know what, Hosea? I'm not holding out on you guys. Here's the thing: we're gonna be launching memberships soon, and that will be one of the things. Like, here, look, in the swing of things, every once in a while, we've had situations where we had a technical glitch that week with the show, and the last few minutes of the show never made it like on YouTube. So we will eventually get around to it. But there's a lot of other stuff. There's a bunch of other lost episodes and whatnot over the years, and a lot of those will be available for members only, because we keep the records. Like, it doesn't, just because it's not on the channel doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We actually did a bunch of stuff years ago that's never made on the channel. Like, John and I even did some exclusive DCU
Yeah,
stuff
didn't we do like a
yeah,
is
like a
Batman
whole,
Returns a Christmas movie thing? I think we
yeah,
did like a
we
whole
did that.
episode on that.
We looked back at all that we did, like these retro like reviews kind of things for DCEU movies, all of that stuff. Like, so when the membership launches, we will have, like, you'll be able to suggest show topics, as well as, of course, getting in on all of that stuff. that isn't on the main on the channel right now because hey, we gotta have some extra incentive for those memberships. So we will get around to it. But there's one other thing that I wanted to mention, artwork wise. Another new piece of artwork that they put out here for Superman. This is actually connecting directly to a new Crypto comic book, actually. A cover for Crypto, The Last Dog of Krypton, #1, coming out in June. Different species of dog. And that looks like a very young Superman. I don't know. But it looks interesting. This looks like it takes place on Krypton, John. James Gunn giving it a fire emoji. What are your thoughts on this design? Very Star
Fire.
Warsy.
It looks great. I like the red sun. I like the circle. It has like kind of like an old school kind of like anime vibe a little bit. I don't know if like Japanese kind of vibe. I don't know why. Maybe it's like the weird bird. Maybe it's the modern like Kryptonian city in the background. I don't know. It just kind of gives me that vibe. It looks very good.
It is. You know what? To me, this reminds me of Star Trek, and much more so Star Wars posters from back in the day. Like it feels very. And part of the reason why I think of it this way is because after watching Andor, I went straight into watching Rogue One, into watching Episode 4, and then I'm currently on Empire Strikes Back. So I'm doing a whole rewatch of Star Wars from like where Andor took me. So, I feel the Star Wars nature of this poster, and definitely like Krypton. The more we explore Krypton, I love the look of the buildings and everything. We got a lot of it in Man of Steel. I don't know how much Krypton we're gonna see in this Superman movie, but this looks great. Summer of Superman. Frankie G saying I support red undies. We all do. We love the undies, even with the bulge. James Gunn even said it's a minority of the people hating the new movie. Says Enterprising. That's true. It's a very small vocal minority. And the Glimmercast would support the membership. Dude, that's awesome. You know what? That is coming very soon, and it's going to be a huge help for the channel because literally everything you guys do to support us helps pay John's salary. Like quite literally it does. And so plus you'll get some exclusives that we don't usually get on the weekly shows. So with that, John, we're kind of done with the quick hits part of the DCU Daily. We didn't have the music or anything, but now we have to dive into the main stories. We have 2 of them. Actually, no, we have 3 main stories today. So the first one is a little bit of what we talked about early in the show, but we're going to take a slightly different spin on it because James Gunn recently shared a photo on Ma and Pa Kent, and then he talked about potentially Lanterns coming out before Supergirl, which we talked about a little bit before because he kind of mentioned Lanterns and Supergirl in the order that he did, so you would assume that Lanterns comes out before Supergirl. Let's touch on that a little bit later. First, I wanted to talk about how James Gunn was celebrating the anniversary of Ma and Pa Kent, saying, I can't wait for you to see Pruitt, Taylor, Vince, and Neva Howell as the parents whose moral compass shapes our hero's journey, John. We've talked about how these characters are obviously a big, important part of the mythology of Superman, but at the same time, these characters, John, we remember seeing them be played by A-listers in the previous Superman franchises,
like Glenn Ford and Diane Lane,
Kevin
and
Costner. I mean, it's and we don't know the Kryptonian heritage of Superman. What we're gonna get in this new Superman?
Apparently, we're getting Bradley Cooper, but that was only a rumor.
But we know that the Pa Kent and Ma Kent are being played by 2 career character actors. They're not A-list stars. Your thoughts on how that changes the role that they're going to play here and the way they're going to incorporate them? Because obviously in Man of Steel, Ma and Pa Kent played a big role in the character, like how they shaped Superman and more importantly Clark into being the person that he was. I don't think there's meant to imply that these Ma and Pa Kent characters are any less important to Clark Kent's journey in this new movie, but maybe it implies that they have a lesser role in the film. How much of the film do you think we're going to see Ma and Pa Kent for?
We're probably going to see them a little bit, but I think it's just the case of James Gunn being like, I chose the best people for the job. Like the way Pruitt Taylor Vince sells that line of like your choice is your action, that's what makes you who you are, I think is very, very Pa Kent. And then the idea of like, I cleaned your boots for you, like that's like gives off. I know she has like a more of a southern accent, but that's like such like Midwest vibes. I love that
Which we
so
haven't
much.
seen before. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? Until I heard that accent from Ma Kent. Remember, the first time I saw the trailer, I was like, wait, is that Ma Kent? I didn't even, it was like, it took me a little while because I'm so used to like, oh, Diane Lane playing, like, and she did not have the accent. It was like, well, she had a bit of an accent, but like, it wasn't this, right? And then it's also when you see Diane Lane, you see Diane Lane. Like, okay, she was Martha, and I get it, like the whole infamous Martha thing, but I feel like this is a different kind, like they blend in, right? Like I think James Gunn's
You
goal here
blend.
was like he did not want these characters to like like basically steal the spotlight from Superman or any of the other characters. They're there to be supporting cast members, obviously, and be the backbone that for Clark Kent and the guiding moral compass for him. But they're not meant to dominate the movie. Like you killed my so what was it like you hurt my mother or something, and like Superman's beating up Zod flying across the farm. You're not gonna probably see anything like that. I don't think these guys are gonna get involved in any of the action sequences, although they are gonna help Superman heal, I guess, after the kaiju fight, because we see that in the trailer. So yeah, Frankie G's like, they better not die. I hope not. I really genuinely hope they won't die. But yeah, I mean, hey, Mod Pa Kent, I can't wait to see them in the movie. And then just once again, John, one of the other things they mentioned in this article was that same comment James Gunn made about Lanterns and Supergirl, the way he mentioned seemingly the order of the projects coming out. If Lanterns does come out before Supergirl, do you think it's coming out around the same time and then
I think
overlaps with
so.
Supergirl? Or do you think it's gonna be done releasing all his episodes by the time Supergirl releases?
I think the vibe I'm getting, because we've talked about it, it's kind of been going back and forth. Like we weren't sure they're coming. He just said around the same time. I think we're probably going to be getting. I think the episode. I'm just going to say this. I don't know when we're getting it. I'm just going to say I think we're going to be getting all the episodes before Supergirl. So at the very least, it's going to be like late April. But I think I think the in April. I mean, I think somebody said spring. I don't know if James Gunn said it or somebody else said it. So that can go from March to May. So I think like the last episode is going to be around the same time as Supergirl. I personally think it's going to be before, but I could see it like being like the same week or like maybe like the week after or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see when we find out, because they're not done filming, but maybe they'll commit to a release date by the time we get to Comic-Con. Who knows? That could be possible. Swak Fan 100 in the chat. Hello, how are you doing? Telling everybody to look up. And Elite Easy was saying the accent just makes sense, like the converted double wide mobile home. Exactly. This version of the Kents is a little more realistic in the sense that they're not exactly millionaires with a big ranch, and it's not like Yellowstone. And Elite Easy, the distance between Superman and Peacemaker is going to be more or less like a month, a little more than a month, because July 11th to August 21st is a month and 10 days. So yeah, like 5 weeks, plenty of time for Superman to make all of its money. But yeah, hey, Pa Kent guys, let us know what you think about the castings of character actors as opposed to A-listers, and how that will affect maybe the part that they play in this new universe. But John, let's move our attention to talking about World's Finest, because there's a rumor going around that James Gunn might have been secretly working on a project. I mean, we know actually that he's been writing something. He's mentioned it himself, that he's working on a new movie for the DCU. He hasn't told us what, but apparently, according to a rumor, it could be a Batman times Superman, aka World's Finest movie. So he is writing a script. I mentioned it's unannounced. So this is something that's not a rumor. He said it himself. He said he was prepping it last year. The last time we heard from him, he said he's writing it. And well, people have now kind of taken that a step further, and there's a rumor going around the internet, and this one comes to us from your favorite insider, Jeff Snyder, saying that DC Studios will reportedly announce a Batman Superman World's Finest film if the DCU's upcoming Superman film is a success. So my question to you is very simple, John. Is do you think that if this new Superman movie is a big success, that The World's Finest is the next movie that they will announce, and that is the movie that James Gunn has been writing secretly for all this time?
I can see that. I can see that because I think at this point, like, get Batman and Superman on screen together with like having it be like, I know you're gonna have the Snyder fans that are like, oh, you're doing a Batman Superman movie as the sequel to Superman? That's so ignoring the fact that Jeff Snyder sucks and we hate him and he's lame, but I can see this happening. I would want it to happen because at this point, it's like James Gunn's like, all right, Andy Muschietti, he's being a piece of shit. I'm gonna fucking make my own Batman Superman movie. I'm gonna make my own Batman movie, but like with Superman. So I can see that. I would love to see it. I would love to see them on screen together, not fighting, but like being friends like they usually are. Um, um, so there's that. Personally, I think this is gonna sound weird, but he did mention that totally opposite theory. He did mention that Wonder Woman was gonna have an exciting announcement sometime in the future. I mentioned it's probably Paradise Lost. I think he might be writing a Wonder Woman movie.
You think he's writing a Wonder Woman after declining to move forward with the Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman 3 script? That would be crazy.
Because I think
okay.
Now it could be. Now here's the thing. I know people could say, "Oh, I think the exciting announcement for Wonder Woman was that she was one of the pillars of DC." Okay, I can see that, but I think he meant something a little bit more, something a little more exciting. So I think he's seeing that Wonder Woman has not been getting a lot of love as of recently. So he's like, you know what? Just doing a Thanos,
Hey,
fine. I'll do it myself.
You know what?
Like,
though? Okay, here's the thing.
I can see that. I can see this too. Even though I hate Jeff Snyder and this is probably wrong, I can see this too.
Swak Fan 100 saying, I love the Batman Superman relationship in the DC animation universe. They're friends, though they're they're night and day, which is exactly the dichotomy of Batman and Superman. Elite Easy would just burst with excitement if this ended up being true. Yeah, and then Figure Drawing saying like we just gotta wait till they actually cast an actor for Wonder Woman before we get anything else. Well, I mean, you gotta get a script first, right? Maybe that's what John is hinting at. But I do think a bunch of you guys are mentioning things that are valid points. How is this any different from Batman v Superman? Because then essentially if you do this movie before Brave and the Bold, you're introducing Batman. And if you decide to then jam in Wonder Woman, you're back to where we were before, except I guess it's brighter with more color and a more upbeat attitude. Because here's the thing. Elite Easy was asking, would he work on this? Would he write this without Brave and the Bold? Like, is this meant to account for that? What about Superman getting a sequel before we get to, introducing Batman in a crossover? Enterprising was saying exactly that. Antonio,
yeah, we don't want this to be like a repeat of
BVS.
We never got a Man of Steel sequel. So,
like Antonio saying, let's stay away from that whole idea because it will come off as rubbing in the noses of the people and who will be like, oh yeah, there you go, look, original idea, rip off Zack Snyder, like, you know what I mean? Which, again, vocal minority, but the narrative, like the perception is reality thing will hold true. And Enterprising saying that, again, he would like to see this after Superman getting at least a second solo movie. And then Ray J adding and saying one is a world that's already established. One is a world where Superman is basically the first superhero. That's true, but you still got to remember the average audience members won't think that way. They'll be like, oh, we got one Superman movie and then a Batman versus or Batman times Superman movie. Just because the story is different. I'm just saying that the comparisons will be there, and they'll be pretty naked comparisons. So the Watcher's saying my prediction of the order of movies will be Superman, Brave and the Bold, World's Finest, Wonder Woman, Trinity movie, Superman 2, Batman 2 with Justice League. And then Ray J saying that it won't matter if the script is good. All good points. I personally think this is a little too good to be true.
Yeah.
Because even if he is working on it, And even if they announce it, it doesn't mean it's the next movie to come out after Supergirl. And honestly, like you said, John, I think they need to stay away. And Antonio was saying the same thing from basically doing another Batman v Superman. It doesn't matter if you call it World's Finest. People are gonna draw the comparisons of the timelines of how the DCEU played out, and it doesn't matter if it would be well established that there are so many other heroes in this new universe. It will still feel like you're introducing Batman for the first time in a team up movie, and so you have to give him plenty of screen time. Like, all the fundamental storytelling issues will be the same that Batman v Superman faced. And yeah, you don't have to include Wonder Woman in it, but I mean, when you have a world where a million other superheroes already exist, it's the whole thing of why don't you call in the Avengers? So I'm sure they'll have to integrate other characters. The fact Superman already has a ton of other characters, I'm sure a World's Finest movie won't just have Batman, Superman either. So I don't know. Guys, let us know in the comments what you think. Is this true? Do you believe the rumor? And would you like to see a World's Finest movie be directed by James Gunn? I'm sure directing the movie itself, we would love to see that. James Gunn could direct it. It would be fun. But it being the next movie after, let's say, Supergirl, I don't think that's necessarily what we want. We want to see a Brave and the Bold movie, establish Batman and hit Gotham City, all the other characters before we go a step further. So let us know in the comments down below what you think about it. But right now, we have one other thing we got to talk about before we finish up the show, John. So let's get into this. We talked about this right at the top of the show. You mentioned this was probably the most exciting story for you on the day for DC. And well, we now know that while the movie itself, Superman, comes out on July 11th, probably around a week before then, they will do some early screenings for the movie for the fans. This is not a test screening or anything like that. We're gonna get an early screening, kind of like The Accountant 2 did on tax day. I think it was like a week before the movie came out. There's a new report suggesting, and it's more than just suggesting. This is actually, it's pretty much true, because it's coming from official sources saying that Amazon Prime members will be able to see Superman as much as a week early through their Prime Premiere service, which I think they did a couple movies before. I forget. I've seen one of the movies that Amazon Prime Premiere offered within the last year. And you could go see it like a week before. Now, this is set to take place July the 8th. So it's 4 days actually before the movie hits theaters worldwide. We know that in France, which is the earliest anywhere in the world you're going to be able to see the movie, is July 9th. So even before people in France can see it, if you're a member of Amazon Prime, they're teaming up with DC Studios to give you an early access screening. If you have a Prime account, you'll be able to go and reserve your tickets for the advanced screening through their Prime Premiere feature. And then you can go see the movie a few days before anybody else gets to see it in the US or anywhere else, quite frankly. Now, if I remember correctly, the last time I had to do this, it was pretty simple. I got an email, I clicked through it, I went into the Amazon app, I booked my ticket. It was straightforward. But John, these things are going to sell out, because whatever movie it was that I saw last time, I can tell you for sure it wasn't as popular or as much of a big blockbuster as this Superman is going to be. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, is this a good idea? Do you think this also exhibits on the part of Warner Brothers and DC Studios just a tremendous amount of confidence in the movie, that they're letting fans go see it 4 days before the official release? Because if it's a bad movie, all of that bad word of mouth now comes out on July 8th versus, when the movie actually comes out. So you got to be confident in the movie, right? So like, do you think this speaks to the quality of the film and the confidence that the studio has in it? And then also, are you going to go check it out?
I would 100% do this. Most definitely. I'll pay to see it. I'll pay more to see it. I'll do all the things to see it and watch it, because I think this is definitely a good move. It gets more people excited, and then it gives us like an idea of what people would expect. So, and gives like the whole idea of the early screening, confidence, all that. I agree with all that. So I think this is a really good idea. But it's interesting how it's for Amazon Prime, because Warner Brothers isn't affiliated with that. So I just think that's interesting.
I think this is not definitely not the Amazon MGM Studios side of things at all. This is something completely different, where they're just offering an extra perk to their Prime members, which I'm like 4 days before, like all the theaters will already have the movie available to show, right? So it's not like logistically this is going to be a big like heavy lift for anybody who's going to participate in this. But yeah, And as far as the amount of showtimes, I feel like the last time this happened, there was just one showtime. It was one screening. It's probably going to be like a 7 p.m. Eastern time screening, so the most amount of people can go see it. Yeah, and I mean, the Watcher saying the YouTube channel, the DC Enthusiast, released a video of him asking normies that they were excited for Superman. 9 out of 10 were aware of the film, loved the trailer, and loved crypto. Yeah, I mean, one of you guys were saying your girlfriend wants to go see the movie because of crypto. So, I think a lot of people are gonna want to see it. I'm excited for it as much as you are. Hosea was asking an interesting question. I'll answer in a second. And then Swak fan was asking, do you think they'll do a Martian Manhunter film? I think they will. They have to. The mythology is so good. This new world, just give us a Martian Manhunter movie, please do. But getting back to this, as far as the details for this, we know the tickets for the movie are going on sale soon. Now, as of May 18th, as of today, these early screening tickets are not available on Prime Premiere. The listing is there. I think I've heard that it might pop up a week before, so it might be early July or it might be sometime in June. So keep an eye out. We'll keep an eye out for you guys. Like if you're an Amazon Prime member, you can go get the tickets for this probably in June. Maybe you'll get an email. So we'll just hope to see that email soon enough. But then we can go see it 4 days before the movie actually comes out for everybody else. And then I was mentioning earlier, John, that the Superman tickets for the actual release of the movie, those are also set to come out soon. So we're now just weeks away because the rumor is that the Superman tickets will go on sale June 12th. Are you gonna be like lining up in whether it's a virtual queue or actually in a movie theater to grab your tickets?
I got AMC Stubbs A-list.
There you go. Just book a screening, and it's gonna be paid for by your A-list membership. I probably will do the same. I mean, both of us are probably gonna go see the Amazon Prime premiere screening, and then we can probably go see it a second time the same weekend. But the question to wrap up the show today, I think, is a good one from Hosea saying, do you guys think they've already cast Batman and Wonder Woman and they'll be announced at Comic-Con? It would be something big to announce at Comic-Con because like that's what Marvel does. Even if the movie never gets made, like Blade and what happened with with Marshall Ali. But John, what are your thoughts? Do you think we're gonna get our Batman Wonder Woman announcements? Is that the positive Wonder Woman development that James Gunn was talking about that he can't publicly talk about yet?
I think so.
Yeah, I you know what? I'm not as convinced. We don't know
I
how
think
much of a
that's a
presence
good
they will have
theory.
there.
It's a good working
It's a good
theory.
theory, but I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced yet. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But hey, we'll find out. I'm sure there'll be hints at it in the days leading up to the movie actually, or the Comic-Con actually starting up. And they'll probably tell us more of what, we'll get a whole calendar of events for Comic-Con. I'm sure that will help. Geek Ledger joined in late. Well, Geek Ledger, if you're here, then be kind and rewind. We've got a ton of stuff we talked about on the show, saying, I think Wonder Woman casting might happen. The development he mentioned was promising. Batman on the other side, he says, no, I think we're too far away on that. So yeah, I mean, hey, we're just going to have to wait and find out. Maybe that's going to be this week. Maybe that's going to be after Comic-Con. It might be Comic-Con. It might be well after it. So it just depends again on how far along the Brave and the Bold script is, and if Andy Muschietti is still directing.
If Andy Muschietti actually cares about Batman, but we'll see about that.
But you know what, guys? Let us know in the comments below. Are you an Amazon Prime member? And if so, are you looking forward to seeing the movie early on July 8th, which is only a few days after 4th of July? And of course, it's a few days before Superman officially releases on July 11th for most of us in the US and even other parts of the world. So we'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. All of you guys in the live chat, thank you so much as always for watching, and we appreciate you. We love that you guys are here. Hit the like button if you haven't already on your way out, and drop your comments down below because as always, we will have a Q&A session this Friday, and we'll get into your comments as we did last week. If you are new and you're enjoying the show, then hit the subscribe button because we do this 5 days a week, and definitely hit the notification bell so you know when we are live. Because tomorrow Liz and John are back. Then Wednesday, I'll be back on the show, and we've got a whole week of shows planned out for you guys. So until next time, John, as always, thank you for joining us. And, well, we'll see you tomorrow on another episode of DCU Daily.